Robert Jackson is a remarkable figure in American history for many reasons. He led, as John said, one of the consequential lives of the 20th century. And there are many things we could talk about. We could talk about the Jamestown lawyer that he was. We could talk about the New Dealer that he was. We could talk about his world-changing experience as the chief prosecutor in Nuremberg. But I'd just like to begin with a little tribute to Robert Jackson for another of his accomplishments, which is he was, I think, by common consensus, the best writer ever to serve as a Justice of the United States Supreme Court. To read the sentences he wrote, to read the eloquence with which he discussed the law is a true joy for anyone who appreciates such things. And I'd like to just start by telling a little story from Supreme Court history in which Jackson plays a key part. In 1940, there was a famous Supreme Court case named the Minnersville School District of Pennsylvania against Gobitis. And young Gobitis was a Jehovah's Witness whose family believed that that to salute the flag, to pledge allegiance, was a violation of their religious tenets. And young Gobitis was thrown out of school because he, true to his religious convictions, did not salute the flag, did not pledge allegiance. And his case challenging his expulsion went all the way to a Supreme Court. And in a decision on June 3rd, 1940, the Supreme Court upheld his expulsion. Now, think about the dates here. The dates are very important. June 3rd, 1940. It was the time, of course, of the beginning of World War II. France fell within a few weeks of that decision. And for a very rare occasion in Supreme Court history, nearly the identical case returned to the Supreme Court just 3 years later in a case called West Virginia Board of Education versus Barnett. And the court had changed somewhat in its composition, and Robert Jackson had joined the court by that point, and Robert Jackson wrote the opinion. And the opinion, which I had the occasion to reread in preparation for this talk, is remarkable in its entirety, and it's hard to select out a couple of passages. But just to make the obvious point, this decision came out on June 14th, 1943. And the world looked very different in the United States in June of 1943. The world was embroiled, and the United States was now embroiled in World War II. And the outcome in the middle of 1943 was a far from a foregone conclusion. And Hitler, the enormity of Hitler's crimes were just starting to be known. And this is what Robert Jackson wrote, where, I should say, they reversed the decision in Gobitis, and in the nearly identical case said you could not expel a young boy from a West Virginia school because his religious convictions said he couldn't salute the flag or pledge allegiance. They ruled the other way. And this is what Jackson said. Those who begin coercive elimination of dissent soon find themselves exterminating dissenters. Compulsory unification of opinion achieves only the unanimity of the graveyard. It seems trite but necessary to say that the First Amendment to our Constitution was designed to avoid these ends by avoiding these beginnings. Authority here is to be controlled by public opinion, not public opinion by authority. Pretty good, huh? And then in the most famous passage from the opinion, he wrote, if there is any fixed star in our constitutional constellation, it is that no official, high or petty, can prescribe what shall be orthodox in politics, nationalism, religion, or other matters of opinion, or force citizens to confess by word or act their faith therein. If there are any circumstances which permit an exception, they do not now occur to us. Now I have to follow that with my words. It's pathetic. I apologize in advance. Now, He also said something else, which was in the nature of kind of a witticism. It was actually in a Supreme Court opinion, in a concurring opinion, and he had a description of the United States Supreme Court, which I think is, it's one I quote all the time, and as I think just about as good as any that has been given. And he wrote, "We are not final because we are infallible. We are infallible only because we are final." Now, think about that. That sort of sums it all up right there. They are flawed, they are human, they are creatures of their time, but they're all we got. And they have the last word. And that's really why I wrote The Nine, because the court is really very much a mysterious institution, I think, even to well-educated citizens.